The morning shift alarm echoed through the cramped corridors of mining station Kepler 4 to be as Taiho wiped grease from his hands. Another day fixing atmospheric processes and gravity generators for the Centauri Corporation. The alien overseers barely noticed him anymore, which was exactly how he wanted it. Taiho had spent 3 years perfecting his role as the unremarkable human maintenance worker. His worn jumpsuit bore authentic scorch marks from countless repairs, and his tool belt, jangled with equipment that had seen real use. The Centauri guards would pat his shoulder condescendingly when he fixed their environmental systems, treating him like a useful pet from her position in the communications bay. Jiwoo monitored the security feeds through her secondary console. Her official job was data entry, but her real purpose was providing overwatch for Taiho's operations. She watched him navigate the lower maintenance tunnels, heading towards Section C where the quantum drill extractors hummed with alien technology. The Centauri believed humans were barely evolved primates who got lucky with space travel. Their 6-limbed bodies and chitinous armor made them feel superior to the soft-skinned bipeds they employed for dangerous work. Commander Vex-9 often boasted that humans were too simple-minded for deception, useful only for manual labor in environments too hazardous for proper Centauri workers. Taiho reached the primary extraction chamber where massive drilling platforms burrowed into the planet's core. The Centauri had been mining here for 2 decades, strip mining rare minerals while poisoning the atmosphere. What they didn't know was that Terran intelligence had been monitoring their operations, waiting for the right moment to act. A plasma torch sparked in the distance as Taiho began his routine inspection. The quantum extractors were working perfectly, but he made notes on his tablet anyway. His real mission involved something far more complex than equipment maintenance. Hidden beneath the station lay deposits of trilithium crystals that could power weapons capable of cracking planets. The Centauri planned to weaponize them against human colonies. Jiwoo's fingers danced across her keyboard, monitoring communications traffic between the station and Centauri High Command. The encrypted messages she intercepted painted a disturbing picture. The aliens weren't just mining for a profit anymore. They were preparing for a war. Heavy footsteps echoed through the corridors as Security Chief Cole 7 approached with 3 armed guards. Their exoskeletons gleamed under the harsh industrial lighting, their compound eyes fixed on Taiho with predatory intensity. Each guard carried plasma rifles designed to vaporize human-sized targets. Worker Taiho, Cole 7's translator device rendered his chittering speech into mechanical English. Step away from the equipment. Taiho set down his diagnostic scanner and raised his hand slowly. Is there a problem, Chief? I'm just running the weekly maintenance cycle. Cole 7 produced a small device that beeped ominously near the quantum extractor's control panel. This scanner detects human genetic material on critical systems. You have been sabotaging our equipment. The accusation was absurd. Taiho's hands were all over every piece of machinery on the station. Of course his DNA would be present, but he recognized the setup immediately. Someone wanted him out of the way, and they were using the Centauri's prejudices against humanity. To accomplish it, I repair these machines every day, Taiho said calmly. My DNA would naturally be present. Cole 7's mandibles clicked with amusement. Humans always make excuses. Guards search his equipment. The Centauri soldiers rifled through Taiho's toolkit with deliberate roughness, scattering wrenches and circuit boards across the metal grating from a hidden compartment they hadn't opened. One guard produced a small explosive device that definitely hadn't been there before. Sabotage equipment, Cole 7 announced triumphantly. Just as we suspected, humans cannot be trusted with advanced technology. Jiwoo watched the scene unfold through security cameras. Her jaw clenched with frustration. The Centauri had planted evidenced so clumsily that even their own surveillance systems would show the deception. But they controlled all the data. Her fingers hovered over her emergency beacon, ready to call for extraction. Taiho caught the almost imperceptible flash of light from a camera lens in the upper corner. Jiwoo was telling him she was watching. He gave the slightest nod and remained perfectly still as energy restraints clicked round his wrists. "I want to speak with human legal representation." Taiho said quietly. Cole 7's laughter sounded like grinding metal. "Legal representation? You are property of Zentari Corporation. Human law does not apply here." As they dragged him toward the detention cells, Taiho's mind was already working on contingency plans. His cover was blown, but his mission remained intact. The Zentari thought they had captured a simple maintenance worker. They had no idea they were about to tangle with one of humanity's most dangerous operatives. Backed by an intelligence network that spanned half the galaxy. Jiwoo began typing rapidly, sending coded messages through quantum channels that would reach Earth in minutes. The real game was just beginning, and the Zentari had no clue what they had started. The interrogation chamber hummed with alien technology as Commander Vex-9 circled round Taiho like a predator study. In its prey, the Zentari's forearms gestured wildly while his translator device spat out accusations in broken English. Sweat beaded on the commander's chitinous forehead as he grew increasingly agitated by the human's unnerving silence. "You will confess to sabotaging our mining equipment." Vex-9 clicked his mandibles aggressively. "All humans break eventually. Your species is weak." Taiho sat perfectly still in the metal chair, his hands folded calmly despite the energy restraints crackling round his wrists. 3 days of interrogation had yielded nothing but polite requests for water and basic dignity. The Zentari had tried everything from sleep deprivation to sonic torture, but the human remained as unreadable as stone. "I fix machines," Taiho repeated for the 100th time. "That's what you pay me to do." Vex-9 slammed his primary fist against the table, causing sparks to fly from the embedded monitoring devices. The commander's compound eyes blazed with frustration as he realized his psychological warfare tactics were completely ineffective. Humans were supposed to be simple creatures driven by fear and basic needs, not whatever this was. Meanwhile, 3 levels above in the station's docking bay, a sleek transport vessel bearing Terran diplomatic markings settled onto the landing platform. The ship's hull gleamed with the kind of advanced alloys that made even Zentari engineers envious. As the airlock cycled open, Hyjin stepped out carrying a briefcase that looked deceptively simple. She wore the standard black suit of a Terran legal advocate, but her movements had the precise economy of someone trained in much more than law. Her credentials identified her as a senior partner from Kim and Associates, one of Earth's most prestigious interstellar law firms. What the documents didn't mention was her 20-year career with Terran intelligence. "I'm here to see my client," Hyjin announced to the Zentari dock supervisor, her voice carrying the kind of authority that made bureaucrats nervous across the galaxy. The supervisor's translator device struggled with her rapid-fire legal terminology as she rattled off citation numbers from 17 different interstellar treaties. Within minutes, she had the aliens scrambling to comply with regulations they barely understood. Station Commander Nexfra met her in the administrative complex, his exoskeleton polished to mirror brightness for the occasion. The Zentari believed impressive displays of wealth and power would intimidate the primitive human lawyer. "Your legal procedures are unnecessary," Nexfra declared through his translator. The human confessed to sabotage. "This is corporate justice," Hyjin smiled coldly as she activated her briefcase's holographic display. Complex legal documents materialized in the air between them, written in 6 different languages, including formal Zentari script. The alien commander's confidence evaporated as he realized the human had come prepared for a real legal battle. According to Section 47 of the Kepler Mining Accords, Any human employee accused of criminal activity has the right to proper representation, Hygiene stated. Violation of this provision results in immediate termination of your mining license. The holographic display showed financial projections that made X4's antenna twitch with alarm. Losing their license would cost the Zentari Corporation billions of credits and decades of development work. The commander's dismissive attitude shifted to grudging respect as he realized this human understood their legal system better than most of his own staff. While the bureaucratic dance continued above, Taiho endured another round of X9's increasingly desperate interrogation techniques. The commander had brought in a mind probe device, a horrifying contraption of writhing metal tentacles designed to extract thoughts directly from organic brains. This will hurt significantly, Vex9 promised as the device powered up with an ominous whine. Human minds are fragile. You will tell us everything. The probe's tentacles approached Taiho's temples, crackling with neural disruptors. But instead of fear, the human's expression remained perfectly calm. Vex9 didn't know that Terran operatives underwent extensive mental conditioning, including resistance to alien mind-reading technology. The probe made contact and immediately began smoking. Sparks flew from its neural interfaces as Taiho's trained mind fed it carefully constructed false memo. Rise and useless maintenance data. The expensive device overloaded completely, filling the interrogation chamber with the smell of burned circuits. Impossible. Vex9 chittered in disbelief. Human brains cannot resist Centauri technology. At that moment, the chamber's communication system crackled to life. Nex4's voice carried a distinctly nervous tone as he ordered the immediate halt of all interrogation procedures. The human's lawyer had arrived, and she was already dismantling their legal case with surgical precision. Hygiene spent the next 6 hours in the station's data archives, her briefcase interfacing directly with Zentari computer systems. The aliens watched in growing amazement as she pulled up security footage, personnel records, and equipment maintenance logs with ease. Her legal analysis software processed terabytes of information in minutes. Building an airtight defense case, the Zentari had expected a primitive human lawyer armed with basic advocacy skills. Instead, they faced a legal professional backed by its most advanced artificial intelligence systems and centuries of interstellar law experience. Every piece of planted evidence was methodically catalogued and cross-referenced, revealing the frame-up in excruciating detail. As night fell over the mining station, Taiho finally received his first visitor. The interrogation chamber's security field flickered off as Hygiene entered, her expression professionally neutral despite the relief in her eyes. "Hello, Mr. Taiho," she said formally. "I'm here to get you out of this mess." The Zentari tribunal chamber buzzed with the clicking sounds of alien conversation as 3 imposing judges took their positions behind the crystalline bench. Each judge stood nearly 3 meters tall, their exoskeletons gleaming under the harsh courtroom lighting. Chief Judge Kex-12 activated the translation matrix with a dismissive wave of his forearms. "Clear. Why expecting this to be a routine conviction? This proceeding will be brief," QEX-12 announced, his compound eye scanning the modest human defendant. "The evidence against the saboteur is overwhelming." Prosecutor's elate rose from his position, mandibles clicking with confidence as he gestured toward a holographic display showing the explosive device allegedly found in Taiho's toolkit. The Zentari legal system was designed for efficiency, not accuracy. Most cases ended within minutes with predetermined outcomes on the judges. The human stands accused of attempted sabotage against Zentari Corporation property. The elite chittered through his translator. "The evidence speaks for itself. We request immediate sentencing." Hygiene stood slowly, her briefcase transforming into a sophisticated legal workstation that projected multiple data. streams into the air. The Zentari judges leaned back in surprise as holographic evidence materialized around the courtroom with technological precision that matched their own systems, Your Honors. I request permission to present a comprehensive defense, Hygen stated, her voice carrying across the chamber with perfect clarity. The evidence will show that my client is innocent of all charges. Meanwhile, 47 light-years away on Earth, Minsu sat in a darkened control room deep beneath the Terran intelligence headquarters. Banks of quantum communicators hummed round him as he monitored the trial through encrypted channels. His fingers hovered over emergency extraction protocols, ready to activate a rescue fleet if the situation deteriorated. Phoenix 1. This is Control. Minsu spoke into his headset. Legal proceedings are beginning. Maintain ready status. The response crackled through quantum static as Captain Dongwu acknowledged from his position aboard the stealth cruiser Silent Storm. The ship hung motionless in the void between star systems, its advanced cloaking technology rendering it invisible to Zentari sensors. 50 elite Marines waited in the drop bay, prepared for the worst-case scenario. Back in the courtroom, Judge Kex-12 gestured impatiently for the defense to proceed. The Zentari expected human legal procedures to be primitive affairs involving emotional appeals and basic evidence presentation. They were completely unprepared for what came next. Hygen activated her first holographic display, showing a three-dimensional reconstruction of the mining station's maintenance area. The image rotated slowly, highlighting every camera angle and sensor reading from the time of Taiho's rest. Her legal AI had processed millions of data points to create a perfect timeline of events. The prosecution claims my client planted an explosive device in his own toolkit. Hygen began, her voice calm and professional. However, station security footage tells a different story. The hologram zoomed in on Security Chief Cole 7 approaching Taiho's work area 20 minutes before the arrest. The Zentari judges watched in growing discomfort as their own security footage showed Cole 7 clearly placing something in the human's toolkit while Taiho worked in a different section. Impossible. Prosecutors elate chittered, his confidence evaporating. That footage must be corrupted. Hygen smiled as she activated her second display. Perhaps the judges would prefer to examine the molecular evidence. The hologram shifted to show a microscopic analysis of the explosive device. Advanced human forensic scanners had detected Zentari DNA on the device's surface, but no human genetic material whatsoever. The evidence was so clear that even the biased Zentari judges couldn't ignore it. Judge Kex-12's mandibles clicked nervously as he realized their simple frame-up was falling apart on the proper scrutiny. The Zentari legal system had grown lazy after centuries of dealing with primitive species who couldn't challenge their evidence. The prosecution will explain these inconsistencies, QAX-12 demanded, his compound eyes focusing on the increasingly flustered Zelate. Hygen wasn't finished. Her third display showed communication logs between station security and an unknown Zentari contact. The encrypted messages had been cracked by its quantum computers, revealing a conspiracy to frame human workers for a sabotage they didn't commit. Your Honors, this evidence shows a systematic pattern of false accusations against human employees, Hygen stated, her voice growing stronger with each revelation. My client is the victim of a deliberate conspiracy. The courtroom erupted in chilling protests from the Zentari observers. Many were corporate officials who had been involved in similar schemes against human workers. The judges struggled to maintain order as their entire legal proceeding dissolved into chaos. Minsu watched the developments with growing satisfaction as his quantum communicators lit up with incoming intelligence reports. The trial was exposing corruption throughout the Zentari colonial administration, creating exactly the kind of diplomatic crisis that Terran intelligence had been hoping for. Control to Phoenix 1. Minsu transmitted, Operation is exceeding Expectations: maintain position but stand down from combat readiness in the courtroom. Judge Kex-12 called for a recess as the tribunal struggled to process the overwhelming evidence of their own core. Option: the Centauri had expected to railroad a simple human maintenance worker through their legal system. Instead, they found themselves facing a defense attorney who understood their laws better than they did, backed by forensic technology that made their own systems look primitive. Ty-Ho caught Hygien's eye and nodded slightly. The first phase of their mission was complete. The Centauri were beginning to realize that humanity was far more sophisticated than they had ever imagined. The tribunal chamber fell silent as Judge Kex-12 called the session back to order. The three Centauri judges looked visibly shaken after reviewing the evidence during recess. Their certainty about human primitive nature had been thoroughly demolished, leaving them struggling to understand what they were really dealing with. Hygiene rose from her position, her legal workstation humming with quantum processors as she prepared for the most dangerous part of her defense. The holographic displays around the courtroom shifted, showing classified Centauri military communications that should have been impossible for humans to access. Your Honors, I must now reveal information that will change everything you thought you knew about this case, Hygiene announced, her voice carrying a weight that made even the alien judges lean forward. My client was not sabotaging your equipment. He was preventing a catastrophic attack. The main display materialized a three-dimensional map of the mining station. But this version showed hidden passages and secret installations that didn't appear on any official blueprints. Ty-Ho watched from the defendant's chair as years of careful intelligence gathering were finally revealed. 3 weeks ago, Centauri extremist group known as the Pure Scale Movement infiltrated this station. Hygiene continued, activating video footage that made the judges recoil in shock. Their plan was to detonate the quantum extractors, creating an explosion that would crack this planet in half. The hologram showed Centauri terrorists in specialized armor moving through maintenance tunnels, carrying enough explosives to turn the mining station into a weapon of mass destruction. Judge Kex-12's compound eyes widened as he recognized several faces among the extremists, including his own nephew, Kex-15. Prosecutor Zalate jumped to his feet, his translator crackling with outrage. This is impossible. How could humans possess such classified information? Hygiene smiled as she activated her next display, showing a network diagram that spread across dozens of Centauri colonies. Red dots marked human operatives who had been working undercover for years, gathering intelligence and preventing conflicts before they could start. Because we've been here all along, she said simply. Terran intelligence has been operating throughout Centauri space for 2 decades, not as conquerors, but as peacekeepers. On Earth, Minsu watched the revelation unfold through quantum channels while simultaneously coordinating with dozens of other operatives across the galaxy. His screens showed human agents revealing themselves on 17 different worlds, ending years of careful concealment in a coordinated disclosure that would reshape interstellar relations forever. All stations, this is control. Minsu transmitted. On encrypted channels, Operation Sunlight is now active. Begin phase 2 revelations. Back in the courtroom, the implications were hitting the Centauri judges like physical blows. Judge Kex-12 struggled to process the reality that humans had been living among them undetected, preventing wars and saving lives while being treated as inferior beings. Hygiene activated another display showing Ty-Ho's real personnel file, instead of a simple maintenance worker. The hologram revealed a decorated Terran intelligence operative with commendations for preventing 3 major conflicts and saving millions of lives across multiple species. Agent Ty-Ho Kim, service number TI-7749, has spent 3 years on this station not fixing machines, but preventing the pure-scale movement from starting a war between our peoples, Hygen explained. The device found in his toolkit was not a bomb he planted, but a disruptor he confiscated from the real terrorists. The courtroom erupted as Centauri officials realized they had been manipulated by their own extremists. Security Chief Cole 7 was dragged from the gallery, and energy restraints as evidence of his collaboration with the pure-scale movement was presented. The conspiracy reached deep into the colonial administration. Judge Kex 12 activated his private communicator, speaking rapidly in untranslated Centauri to contexts throughout their government. The political ramifications were staggering. If humans had been protecting Centauri interests while being treated as second-class beings, every colonial policy would need immediate review. Taiho finally stood, his calm demeanor shifting as he dropped the pretense of being a simple worker. When he spoke, his voice carried the authority of someone accustomed to making life and death decisions on behalf of entire civilizations. The pure-scale movement planned to make it look like human. Sabotage caused the explosion, Taiho explained, his words causing shocked chittering throughout the courtroom. They wanted your people to exterminate all humans in Centauri space, which would have triggered a war that could have destroyed both our civilizations. The main holographic display showed intercepted communications between pure-scale operatives and radical factions within the Centauri military. The plan had been elegant in its simplicity: frame humans for a devastating attack, then use the resulting genocide as justification for a full-scale military assault on Earth and its colonies. Your operative Jiwoo has been feeding us intelligence for 3 years, Judge QEX-12 said slowly, reading from classified reports that were appearing on his personal display. She prevented the assassination of Senator Nix 23 last year, Hygen nodded, activating one final display that showed the true scope of human intelligence operations. The network wasn't just about gathering information. It was about preventing conflicts, protecting innocent lives, and maintaining peace between species that might otherwise destroy each other. We never wanted to be your enemies, Hygen said, her voice softening as she addressed the stunned Centauri judges. We wanted to be your partners. Agent Taiho risked his life and his mission to protect both human workers and Centauri civilians from extremists who would have used this tragedy to start an unnecessary war. The revelation hung in the air like a physical presence as the implications sank in. The Centauri had spent decades treating humans as primitive beings, while those same humans worked tirelessly to protect Centauri lives and interests. The silence in the tribunal chamber stretched for long moments as Judge Kex-12 processed the overwhelming revelations. His compound eyes moved between the holographic evidence still floating in the air and the calm human operative who had spent years protecting Centauri lives while being treated as inferior. The weight of institutional shame pressed down on the entire courtroom. Agent Taiho Kim, Judge Kex-12 finally spoke, his translator rendering the formal Centauri words with unusual reverence. This tribunal formally dismisses all charges against you. Furthermore, we issue a public apology for the grave injustice committed by our colonial administration. The other judges clicked their mandibles in agreement, a sound that rippled through the gallery as dozens of Centauri officials realized their entire worldview had been shattered. Prosecutor Zalate sat in stunned silence, his carefully prepared case reduced to ashes by the truth. Taiho rose from the defendant's chair, his movements no longer those of a submissive worker, but of a trained operative finally free to drop his cover. Your Honor, the apology is accepted, but there's something more important we need to discuss. Hygen activated her final presentation, showing a real-time map of human operatives across Centauri space. Red dots appeared on dozens of worlds, each representing years of careful infiltration and intelligence gathering. The scope was breathtaking. Humans had been everywhere, watching, protecting, preventing conflicts that could have consumed entire star systems. Agent Jiwoo isn't alone, Taiho explained, gesturing to the display. She's part of a network that includes maintenance workers, data clerks, cargo handlers, and medical technicians. We've been living among you for decades, not as spies seeking to harm you, but as guardians working to prevent unnecessary wars on Earth. Minsu watched the proceedings while coordinating the largest intelligence disclosure in human history. His quantum communicators buzzed with reports from agents across the galaxy as they revealed themselves to stun Zentari authorities. The careful balance of decades was shifting in real time. Control to all stations, Minsu transmitted, proceed. With diplomatic contact protocols, the secret is out. Judge Kex-12 leaned forward, his forearms gesturing toward the holographic display. How many of our people did you save? How many disasters did you prevent that we never even knew about? Taiho exchanged a look with Haijin before answering. The Vorthan plague outbreak on Kepler for 38C 3 years ago. Agent Menu identified the source and coordinated the medical response. The reactor failure on Station Omega-7. Agent Kyung-ho manually prevented a meltdown that would have killed 50,000 beings. The pure-scale terrorist attack we just revealed was the 47th plot we've stopped in the past 5 years. The revelation hit the Zentari like a physical blow. For every human they had dismissed as primitive, there had been another tragedy prevented, another life saved. The gallery erupted in chittering conversations as officials tried to process the magnitude of their misconceptions. Commander Vex-9 entered the courtroom under heavy guard, his exoskeleton dimmed with shame. The interrogator who had tortured Taiho for days now faced the reality that he had been tormenting someone who had risked everything to protect Centauri civilians. I wish to formally apologize, Vex-9 announced through his translator, his voice carrying genuine remorse. My actions were based on ignorance and prejudice. You could have revealed your identity at any time during interrogation. But you maintained your cover to protect your mission. Taiho nodded acknowledgement. Your people needed protection from the pure-scale movement. Personal comfort was secondary to mission success. Judge Kex-12 rose from his position behind the crystalline bench, a gesture of respect that caused gasps throughout the courtroom. In Zentari culture, judges never stood for defendants. But this situation transcended normal protocol. Agent Kim, on behalf of the Zentari Colonial Administration, I formally request that Terra consider a full diplomatic alliance. The judge announced, our intelligence services need to coordinate. Our peoples need to understand each other. We have been blind to your true capabilities and noble intentions. Haijin stepped forward, her briefcase transforming one final time into a diplomatic communication ray. Judge Kex-12. I am authorized by the Terran High Council to accept preliminary alliance discussions. Our peoples have much to learn from each other. The courtroom's main display shifted to show incoming transmissions from across the galaxy. Centauri governors, military commanders, and corporate leaders were requesting immediate meetings with their local human populations. The revelations were spreading faster than hyperspace communication, carried by the Zentauri's own quantum networks. Jiwoo appeared on the main screen via quantum link from her position in the station's communication center. Her cover as a simple data clerk was finally dropped, revealing the sophisticated intelligence operative she had always been. Taiho, the pure-scale cells on 7 worlds have been neutralized. She reported professionally. Our people are coordinating with Centauri security forces for the first time in decades. The response has been overwhelmingly positive. Judge Kex-12 looked round the transformed courtroom, seeing humans and Centauri working together for the first time as equals rather than master and servant. The legal precision that had dismantled their case, the intelligence networks that had protected their people. the patience to work within their systems rather than against them. These were not the tools of a primitive species. We understand now, Judge Kext said quietly. Your greatest weapon was never your technology or your military might. It was your willingness to sacrifice for others, to work within our systems, to prevent conflicts through patience and wisdom, rather than force. Taiho smiled as he looked round the courtroom filled with former enemies who were becoming allies. That's what makes us human. Your Honor, we don't just fight for survival. We fight for everyone's survival. The trial that had begun as a simple frame-up had become the foundation for a new era of cooperation between species, as the Centauri Tribunal formally established diplomatic protocols with Terra. Both civilizations prepared for a future built on mutual respect rather than prejudice and fear. The end.